Good morning, boys and girls. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. We are on page 87 for homework, lesson 16. Make sure you guys are turning to the correct page, so page 87. For the first question here, they ask you to divide, draw a place value disc to show your thinking for A and C. You may draw a disc on your personal whiteboard to solve the others if necessary. Okay, so the first one they want you to do here is they want you to draw the disc. So if I were to draw the disc, I would draw 300. So 1, 2, 3. So this is 100, 100, 100. And then they want me to draw, I'm dividing by 10. So I would divide by 10. So I would have 10, 10, and 10. And I know that that would give me 30, right? Okay, so that's how I would draw it as a disc. Now, if I were to solve for the equation, I can set it up like this. And I know that if I have zeros in my equation, I can cross it off. What I do to the bottom, I can do to the top. So now we have 30 divided by 1. Remember, this bar right here is a division bar. So you're dividing every single time you see it. So 30 divided by 1. And any number divided by itself is going to equal to itself. So your final answer is 30 for problem A. Now for problem B, we have 450 divided by 10. Same thing as the other problem. What I have on top, I can cross off on the bottom. So I have 1 0 at the top, I can cross it off. 1 0 at the bottom, I can cross it off. So now I have 45 over 1. 45 divided by 1 is equal to 45. Okay, now you can also write it out like if you were to write it out like this, 450 divided by 10. I know that 10 goes into 45 4 times. Subtract 45 minus 40 is equal to 5. Bring down my 0. 10 can go into 55 times. 50 minus 50 is equal to 0. My final answer is equal to 45. So there are two ways, but notice this way is longer and this way is shorter. It's up to you whichever way you want to solve for it, but I think this one is a little bit more simpler. Now problem C, we have 18,000 divided by 100. There are 2 zeros at the bottom, so I can cross off 2 zeros at the top. So I have 180 at the top and I have 1 on the bottom. 180 divided by 1 is equal to 180. Problem D, we have 730,000 divided by 100. I have 2 zeros on the bottom, so I can cross off 2 zeros at the top. So I have 7300. So I have 7,300, and on the bottom I have 1. So right here I have 7,300 as my final answer. Okay, now for problem E. I have 900,000 divided by 1,000. I have 3 zeros at the bottom. That means I can cross off 3 zeros at the top. So I have 900 divided by 1. 900 divided by 1 is equal to 900. Over here, I have 3 zeros at the bottom, so I can also cross off 3 zeros at the top. So I have 680 divided by 1. 680 divided by 1 is equal to 680. Because any number divided by 1 is going to give you the number itself. So 680. Make sure you're turning to the next page. We are on page 88. Page 88, you are doing the exact same thing. They're not asking you to draw this disc, but if you wish to, you can. So I have 18,000 divided by 200. 18,000 is going to go on top, and 200 will go on the bottom. I have 2 zeros on the bottom, and I have 2 zeros at the top that I can cross off. So I now have 180 divided by 2. Now, I'm focusing on 18 and 2, and then I'm adding my 0 later. 18 divided by 2 is equal to 9, and then I'm bringing my 0 down, so I have 90 over 1. 90 divided by 1 is equal to 90. Over here, I have 3 zeros on the bottom and 3 zeros at the top that I can cross off. 18 divided by 2 is what I'm having here, so 18 divided by 2 is equal to 9. For my next problem, I have 420,000 divided by 60. 420,000 goes on the top, 60 goes on the bottom. I can cross off 1, 0, because there's only 1 on the bottom and 1 at the top that I can cross off. So now I have 1, 2, 3 zeros to this number and 1 on the bottom. Sorry, 6 on the bottom. Okay, so now I have 42,000 divided by 6. I know that 42 divided by 6 is equal to 7. And then I have my 3 zeros, 1, 2, 3, that I need to add onto my equation, and then 1 goes on the bottom. So 7,000 divided by 1 is going to give me 7,000. My answer over here, I'm doing the same thing. I have 2 zeros, so I'm crossing off 2 zeros on the bottom, 2 zeros at the top. What I do to the bottom, I must do to the top. So now I have 4,200, 4,200 over 6. 42 divided by 6 is equal to 7. And there are 2 zeros that I'm going to leave. 700 divided by 1 is equal to 700. For the other equation here, I have 3 zeros at the bottom. What I cross off on the bottom, I am going to cross off at the top. So now I have 420 divided by 6. I know that 42 divided by 6 is equal to 7. Bring down my 0, and that gives me 70. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve the questions on the bottom. On the bottom, I have 24,000 divided by 30. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I am solving for those equations. There's 1 0 on the bottom. I can cross off the 0 at the top as well. I have 2, 4, 0, 0, 2,400. And on the bottom, I have 3. So 24 divided by 3 is going to give you 8. Add the 2 zeros. My 3 changes to a 1. So my final answer is equal to 800. Okay. Over here, I can cross off 2 zeros on the bottom and 2 zeros at the top. So I have 5, 6, 0, 0, 0. And on the bottom, I have a 7. So I have 56 divided by 7, which is equal to 8. And I have 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So my final answer is 8,000. Over here, I'm crossing off 3 zeros on the bottom. So I must do the same at the top. So I have 450 left and 9. I know that 45 divided by 9 is equal to 5. Add my 0, and I'm leaving my 1 right there, so my final answer is equal to 50, because 50 divided by 1 is equal to 50. Now I'm going to turn the page. Question number 3. It says here, a stadium holds 50,000 people. The stadium is divided into 250 different seating sections. How many seats are in each section? So I'm picturing in my head a stadium. A stadium is a place where athletes play sports. So that's what I'm picturing in my head. I'm also picturing in my head that there are 50,000 people. That's a lot of people. And I'm also picturing that there are 250 different kinds of seating areas where people can sit at. So knowing those numbers, I need to make sure that I'm dividing 50,000 divided by 250. So I'm setting 50,000 divided by 250 like this. I'm crossing off 1 0. I have 5,000 divided by 25. I know that 50 divided by 25 gives me 2, and then I have 2 zeros at the end. Remember that I said 50, and I didn't say 5, because you can't divide 5 divided by 25. However, you can divide 50 divided by 25. So that gives me 2, and then I add my 2 zeros at the end. So my final answer is 200. There are 200 seats. Problem 4. Over the course of a year, a tractor-trailer commutes 160,000 miles across America. Assuming a trucker changes his tires every 40,000 miles and that he starts with a brand new set of tires, how many sets of tires will he use in a year? So what we're doing here is we're dividing 160,000 miles by 40,000 miles because you're figuring out how many sets of tires he's going to use a year. So first thing I notice is there are 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros at the bottom and 4 zeros at the top that I can cross off. Now I have 16 divided by 4. 16 divided by 4 is equal to 4. So that's my final answer. So there are 4 sets of tires. Now, for the last question, it says here, if the trucker changes the oil every 10,000 miles and he starts the year with a fresh oil change, how many times will he change the oil in a year? So what I'm going to do is I'm taking the number 1600, 1600,000, and I'm dividing it by 10,000. I notice that I can cross off the zeros. I'm crossing them out so that it's easier to divide, and it's evenly going to be 16 over 1. 16 divided by 1 is equal to 16. So my final answer is 16 oil changes. And that is all. Please let me know if you're having trouble with division, and I can help you in class or during tutoring.